Hi, live from New York. It's Convos and Coffee. Hi, everybody. Uh, Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be in New York City today. Um, so I'm going to wait a second and welcome everybody. Come on in. And I'm so excited to be here. Eduardo and I are here to see a play that we're going to talk about today called McNeil. And so we're super excited to get to do that. And, it's not often that we can come into town to see live theater. And so we love it. And that's super exciting. I've got a matcha, which none of you should allow me to drink any more than this because this is my second one today and they're very strong. So I feel like I'm going to be a little bit loopy if I have a second one, but I'll sip on it. Hi from Argentina. Hello, Argentina. Hi guys. Good afternoon. I hope everybody's having a great week. And hello from Japan. So I'm super excited because our guest today is a very old dear friend of mine from USC, from our college days. And she is an accomplished, prolific film producer and television producer and producer of many things. Her name is Susan Downey. Susan Downey is the second part of Team Downey. She is married to the wife of and business partner of Robert Downey Jr., who we all love, wonderful talent and human being. Hi, Italy. And so I'm so excited to talk to her today. This is her first time on Insta Live, so we're going to welcome her here. And I'm going to invite her now. And we welcome your questions. We have a ton of stuff to cover, so we're going to talk about a lot of things. But of course, always welcoming your questions and excited to have you here. So let me just invite her. One moment. Right. Hello, Portugal. Hello, Geneva. Ciao, Geneva. London. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is amazing. France, you're from everywhere. I wish I could like pop in and visit you guys at every single city. That would be kind of fun, right? That's something to do. Okay, so I'm just waiting for Susan to come on. Suze, are you there? Coming, coming, coming. How did I start my acting journey? Oh my goodness, that's a big question. That is a big question. So Scotland, hello, Scotland, Moscow, what is happening? Germany, this is amazing. Brazil, you guys, this is amazing. That makes me so happy. Um, all right, Susan's not in yet. Suze, where are you? Hello from Spain. Your kids are from Geneva. Yes, my kids were born in Geneva. Team Downey is unable to join. Why are they not able to join? Hmm. Let me try again. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there she is. Hi.
Unable to join because I've never done this before, and it
I
just kept
know.
prompting me to do things with cameras and mics. I'm like, that wasn't in the instructions.
Wait, they told you with cameras and
I don't
mics.
know. I accepted it, and then it's like go to settings. I was like,
Ah,
I'm here now.
you're here now. Welcome, Suze. Welcome to Instagram
Oh
Live.
God, thank you. Hi
I,
everyone who's popping up stuff.
okay.
Wow.
Hey, they're
Okay.
popping up stuff and they're from like seriously, the most exciting thing today is I've always had quite this lot of people from all over the world that pop in, but today we are particularly, it is like Japan to Argentina to Germany to Moscow.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so hi.
God, hi.
Hi, beauty. How are you?
I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay.
That's a
I've been
loaded question, right?
right.
Anytime anyone ever asks us, how are you?
Well, especially when a friend asks you, like a real friend, not just like someone you're, getting interviewed by, and it's like, how truthful do I go? How much do people really care?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? We're going to talk about it a little bit because one of the things I do want to talk about with you here is I think that I always, besides all of the accomplishments and the wonderful things that, and all the successes that we have and that you have that we're going to talk about, I also think it's so important as a woman, as a working woman, as a mom, as a partner, to always hear about how, what things you do for yourself,
Mm,
to take care of yourself. What kinds of things have you learned? And you can think about this. We're not going to answer it right now, but
sure.
like, what kind of things we're learning, even as parents from our kids that have sort of informed how we now move through uh, stuff in
Yeah.
life, right? And so I feel like that's just something that I've been hitting on recently. And as I told you, this is a very casual forum. Like we haven't had a conversation before we get on here, and that's what it's about, is just having our coffee. Did you bring something to drink?
Oh, come on now. Happy
Ah,
coffee.
yay! I love the happy cup. I use it very often on here.
I've
Today
seen it.
I've got,
I've seen it on there,
oh,
and I was
yay.
like, this is risky, however, because I am typically a 1 cup in the morning person, and that's at about 5:30 in the morning. So I'm doubling down. I don't know what at 11 o'clock I'll be like,
That's what I just said
oh,
right before we got on. I said, please don't allow me to drink. I'll sip this very slowly because it's my second matcha. And I had one that was very strong. And now I'm like, I really shouldn't have this. It's going to make me a little loopy today. I can't do more than I do one in the morning. And then I'll do a little coffee in the morning, and then maybe I'll do a matcha in the afternoon. But
yeah.
or a matcha in the morning. But I got to be careful. I cannot do more than two.
Yeah, I do the morning cup, like I said, around between 5:30 and 6 to get everything going. And then I do like a half cup after lunch. And it's just black coffee. I mean,
Right.
I'll do maybe a green tea in the middle. Um, but I used to do matcha all the time, but I stopped doing any of the like milk alternatives and I don't do regular milk. And so I just kind of like, not for some big conscious reason other than I was just like, I don't want it anymore. So
Well,
I've gone to black coffee like some like lady going to a diner in the 50s.
we're gonna, by the way, we're gonna talk about that too, because honestly, girl, you look so gorgeous these days. Like
Oh,
I can't even take real.
geez.
Like when we get on the superficial side, we're going to talk about your fashion and the way you look. You are just glowing. Like these
Oh,
pictures of you going to I mean, to opening night at McNeil. I wanted to say premiere, but it's not really a premiere. It's opening night.
I know,
You
trippy.
just look so stunning, and I know that you're working so much and you've got so much going on. But like again, I want to like circle back to that about what kinds of things you're doing for yourself, because really, I mean, first of all, you look exactly like you looked in
Oh
college,
my.
which was not okay. Like
Yeah, by the way, do
literally.
people know? I didn't hear your intro because I was fiddling with settings, but like, do people know how long we've known each other? And do they know the seminal things you've done in my life? Or can we get into those?
We can totally talk about this. No, we didn't. All I said was that
Do you see
we're
Robert
very old dear
keeps,
friends.
do you see Robert keeps tuning, like saying stuff in here?
No,
He
is
said
he
he
in?
can't
I
wait to
didn't
see you
see.
tonight. He's enthralled, all this stuff. He
Ah,
pops
that's
up
so
every once in a
sweet. I
while.
love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Hi, Robert.
yeah,
No, we do want to, let's start with that, because all I did say was that you are, well, I don't even know if I said it yet, but not only are we old dear friends from our USC days.
yes,
USC is University of Southern California, by the way. It's the university that we went to, and it's also the best film school in the world. And so we were
yes.
there. But Susan was the first person I met on my very first day of walking onto campus at USC. So how
Yes.
cool is that?
So, so cool. And I remember it because I'm like, this chick is cool, you know? And it was like, without getting into the details of what we were doing and how we met,
Right.
because that's, I don't know. But like, it was really nice just to feel a kindred spirit immediately. And, you know, it's been incredible all these years to kind of grow together, you know, and always have remained in touch, sometimes even worked together. We kind of crossed paths
Yeah.
at that first job, which, by the way, you were completely responsible for me getting my first job in this industry.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
give it all to you because you still had like at least a semester left. at SC,
Yeah.
and you had been offered the job, and you're like, well, I can't take it because I'm still in school, but you and I are really similar, and if they like me, they'll like you. Go meet them. And I did, and I got that job, and that set me off on my course, and it's been amazing. And then you popped in every once in a while when you actually had time and we needed like someone to come in and be like, I don't know, answering phones or helping with
Yeah,
stuff.
when we did the making of Mortal Kombat, and we both met our dear friend Susie Kasdan, who I'm here
Yes,
with in New York, and we're gonna go. Both of our kids are at college together now, so we're gonna go together for Parents Weekend
crazy.
this weekend. I know, wild, but and she has remained, also one of your closest friends and
Yes.
dearest friends. So it's like it's interesting in life sometimes how and I feel so grateful for that when you do meet people that are people that you can continuously as you said check in these different moments. It's almost like the universe brings you together even if you're not, like, who knows, like your lives go different ways, you guys work in different, I mean your schedules are, you've worked in different countries for major periods of time,
Oh yeah.
but to be able to circle back and connect with somebody and just pick up where you left off is such a huge gift. Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it does feel that way. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. Although recently, not a lot of time passes in between, which
Yeah,
is nice.
that's true.
But when you're building your life, whether that's your career or your family or, whatever that is, you do go into your little cave for a while to do something. And then you come back out and you're like, okay, who do I still want to talk to? And
Yeah.
obviously, I think we've all experienced, especially with the pandemic. I know this is not a novel notion, but it really kind of had everyone look at their priorities and where
Yeah.
they want to spend time, and you realize like how fragile everything can be. And we're also at an age where things are happening with parents and friends parents and colleagues of ours and all of that,
Yeah.
and everything starts to get into focus, and you're watching your kids become young adults and all of that stuff. So it is nice when you can connect with somebody who also knows your history. They know what you've been like, they know what you've gone through. You don't have
Yeah.
to fill them in. There's something exciting when you meet someone new and you get to do that, like when
Yeah.
you find that connection, but there's also something really relaxing about not having to cover all that territory.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the things. So so yeah, so school together, started working together, and you very early on, you went from that job to another job with Joel Silver,
Yeah.
who's an amazing producer. And that sort of led you to then, not only meeting Robert, but then also building your incredible empire of just of not only just not only all the films that you guys have done and most of you guys know because you follow, but from the Sherlock Holmeses to Iron Man and Iron Man 2 and The Judge, and you have these television shows from The Sympathizer, which was incredible recently, Perry
Yeah.
Mason, Sweet Tooth. So it goes on, and now this is your first play,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I hadn't done anything. I was like the student director of a musical in high school. That was pretty much, other than reading plays, the sole extent of my theatrical experience. And Robert hadn't done one in probably 40 years, and that was off Broadway. So this was both of
Right.
our Broadway debuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting to hear that that the writer of McNeil, Ayad Akhtar, is
Yeah.
actually a dear friend of Eduardo
Well,
and I's.
again,
He's a
it's
wonderful
crazy.
novelist, and
Yes.
he did a play called American Dervish, but also a wonderful novelist of a book called Homeland
Hmm.
Elegies, which I found very profound and really a really incredible novel. So you guys should look into that. But so I'm excited to see it tonight. I'm really happy for you. And how's it going?
I mean,
So how's life going in turn? Well, how's it all going? So you have this, and you guys have you are also just every day running all of your other productions and
yeah.
projects that are moving forward. Um, I guess my question to you is like, if you were to say, like, what's your superpower,
Uh,
Suze? Because I feel like you've always been a person that has you as a human being, you're someone that is more, let's say your mind is much more organized than most people.
yes.
I feel like you're right and left. Like you can
Yes.
relate to the artists,
Yep.
but you also are able to keep wheels on the bus, which some of us, like that's not as easy. Like it's not. Like as much as people think like, oh, I'm that way. You know me. Like I'm both. Like I can kind of jiggle into like, and kind of teeter between both. Like what is it? What's your superpower that's helped you sort of uh manage all of this for so long?
Um, it's a good question. I mean, I think in a good way, don't reflect on my own superpower. I am who I am. I do what I do. But I will say that I have an incredible level of patience. Okay.
Agreed.
And Robert always quotes something Favreau would say, which is picking fly shit out of pepper. This thing of like, I love the details and I will sit there and I will find, and I don't give up easily on things. And I think that diligence, coupled with, as you said, like I have a very organized head. When I have a task at hand, I don't have to think, it just goes, "Brrr, this is what you have to do." Like I don't have to stop and think about it too much. It just kind of falls into place. And then I think maybe the third component of that is I really believe you have to meet people where they are. Like and that goes to working with creatives, and why that part of me is, open to it and excited by it, is that I love what I do because of all the different type of personalities that I get to interact with. And whether that's, actors, directors, writers, sometimes studio heads, whatever it is, everybody's different and people are very odd in a wonderful way. And so instead of standing back in judgment about them, I'm trying to always endeavor to understand, okay, how do I get into this? If I respect them and I think that they're, smart or working hard or whatever the thing is that they're supposed to be doing, as long as they're doing their part, I'm going to try and figure out how to unlock the best in what they can offer.
It and by the way, I not only are you incredibly patient, and I agree with that, but also you're not judgmental.
Well, that's what I
And that's an interest.
mean.
Yeah, and
That,
and
yeah.
you're really not, but and I say this because like if I go back to like, our early days, like when I was like, partying or being a crazy college person, and maybe you weren't, maybe you were, but like I would think that a type of personality like yours that just feels like they have it together was someone that would judge that. Like that's my insecurity. That's what
Mm,
I would feel. But you never were like that. You're somebody who genuinely sort of looks at it all and you're quite open to it all. And that's something that I would say is a huge superpower because I
yeah.
think that a lot of people lead with what they're comfortable with and more about them, whereas I feel like you lean in to all of it, and then as you said, kind of go in and go, okay, how can I make this work? And that's a very specific quality. That's a very
Yeah.
specific.
Well, I was raised in a household with two incredible parents who really never judged people either. I mean, yeah, my dad would get pissed at politics, or, he'd swear at the football game or whatever sports was on that weekend, but they were so open to people. And I think I never heard them, talking shit about people. Like they
Right.
just didn't. They didn't do it for sport or to make themselves feel better, anything like that. And um I feel like I was never raised in an environment to be judgmental, uh, and which is great because if I was, I don't think I would have ended up with Robert. Because when I met him, there was a lot there to judge if you wanted to. But I
Well,
really think people are fascinating as long as, again, somebody's trying to be their best version of themselves or want to. Like, there's so much to learn from people,
yeah.
and there's so much to gain. I really try and impart that in my kids too. Like if I ever hear them, they're 12 and 9, they're figuring out, they're trying on different attitudes. And if I ever hear them like making fun of someone, I have to stop it right there. And I always hated shows that, are seeking to gain a laugh by making somebody else look stupid,
A
any of those
hundred
kind of,
percent.
yeah.
A
And
hundred
I just
percent.
think there's so much more to gain from learning about people and being open than closing down and judging them.
Yeah.
And again, we're in a world for sure, but even just talking the microcosm of what you and I do with a lot of big personalities. That's how great art is formed. We're always pushing to try and seek and tell the truth about something. And, you have to be open to hearing that and discovering that in people. And you're right. Like I also have never been somebody, you went back to the college years, like I was I was not a partier even a little bit, because I was always about what the next day was going to be and being clear headed for the next day and wanting to I always had an agenda, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to go to SC since I was like 12 years old and I was going to do that.
Oh yeah.
So I've always had that drive. But the beautiful balance I got with Robert was you can have the drive, you can have the goals, that's fine. But life is the experience of the day to day. So it's finding that kind of balance. And you're like, God, I have to be open to someone who's so different to expose me to that mindset. And now 20 something years later with him, it's like, yeah, it is. It's the day to day. It's the experiences you have. It's the people you meet. It's what you can learn from everybody.
And that's also, I think, like, what ultimately makes any relationship work, right, is finding that little, that commonality between us. Nobody knows what makes relationships really really work, because
Yeah.
they're not in our bedroom with us, right? They
Yeah.
don't really understand all those things. But I think that that's definitely something, like, I feel like there's a good, you guys have both come together and grown and met somewhere. I think the most beautiful thing about your relationship is that you've both come in with different experiences and personalities about stuff, but you have met somewhere in a place that has so much respect and love, and that I love the way you work together. A lot of times
Yeah.
people sort of go, well, who wants to work with their spouse, or who wants to, but I have the same experience with Eduardo. I love working with Eduardo. I feel like you know each other the best. You have a second hand. You understand the goals that you guys are aiming for. I
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful thing when it does work. I think it's amazing.
No, I
You know?
agree. I think in general with relationships, certainly if you're working together, there's like that Venn diagram, and there's the overlapping part has to be kind of your moral base,
Hmm.
your kind of most grounded beliefs in life and what you want out of life. But the stuff that doesn't overlap, I think you have to respect and have awe about how the other person can do that stuff that's not your thing.
Yeah.
And you have to continue to both be trying to seek and grow and learn together. And I think you're right. I love that you found Eduardo and you have that as well, because shared passion is really sexy and, and
I
exciting,
agree.
and
I
and it's
agree.
great. And it forces you, when you work together, it forces you into really creating a set of conflict resolution tools that you can use both directions. And what I mean by that is, like, you have to get through where you're going to disagree, and you're going to disagree for, different reasons on different things. And that's fine. I think some of that friction is important
Oh
both
yeah.
in personal and professional growth and creativity, right? But it can't stop you. You have to figure out what are the tools to get past those things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you deal with conflict. I mean, and not in relationships, just, but like, you have a way of. I specifically remember you were in the middle of finishing some some film of yours, and you had a lot on your plate. The kids were little, and by the way, just for everybody to know, you have the most adorable
Oh,
kids who have such kind hearts. They're
yes.
so lovely, but they have such kind hearts. Most importantly,
Thank
they're
you.
just such sweet beings. I really adore them. And there's no doubt that when you have parents, as you said, that give us a value system that we get used to, which is one of leading with kindness, and looking at other people in the world, not in a way of, as fear based, but
Yeah.
looking at it a different way,
Yeah.
then that trickles down. That
Yeah.
becomes part of our, the language of our home.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're
that's
always watching. They're
yeah,
always, even if they seem like they're distracted or on a device or talking to a friend or whatever they're doing, they are so in tune with what you're doing and how you're behaving and interacting with the world and all of that. You have to be really aware of that.
yeah. Yeah, and also it helps to have funny people in the house too. I mean, let's
Well,
be
a
honest.
thousand I mean, that's like, I think the best thing is that there's laughter like every day. And I
Yeah.
think that what I love is, yes, they have these incredible hearts. They're very sweet still. They're somewhat oblivious to mine and Robert's careers. They kind of know in theory what we do, but they're not really, I don't know. They're not aware of anything beyond that. And but what I love is that they have wicked sense of humor. Like, and it's different. Like they're very different. And Avery's got a very dark, very dry sense of humor that Robert is so proud of.
Yeah.
And Exton's is a little bit just wittier in wordplay. But that's the part that I beam with like pride on. It's like, oh, they can make each other laugh, they can make us laugh, they try and make other people laugh.
And it's such a beautiful process, the parenting. Like I as your friend, it's been wonderful to see you um in this whole journey of parenting because you didn't do it at 20 like you guys really had a full your
Yeah, we
careers, you had a
waited.
lot going on, and I felt like you sort of went into it and kind of went, okay, like I'm gonna do this next stage and to manage it all. And I remember specifically, that's what I was gonna say, is that I called you once and I don't know, I had like a personal thing I wanted to talk to you about, and you got right back to me as you always do, but like we had the conversation. And at the end of that conversation, as you were like driving home from a full day of deadlines on the film, going home to little children, doing whatever, it's like you just were so chill. You were
Mm-hmm.
so chill. And I remember going, how are you so chill? Like, how are you able to, like, when my anxiety and stuff comes up, or if I'm juggling a bunch of things, like, I don't know. I just don't think I'm as chill as you. So I just wonder, like, what are there things I know you work out? Do you still do
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Anderson?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So TA is one of our faves.
yes.
I'm so excited. I just ran into Tracy and I love seeing her and it's always been one of our faves. But you work out, you eat well. You've
Yeah,
always been somebody that you eat well. You're a picky eater, right?
yeah.
A little bit.
I'm yeah. I guess we'll call it picky. I also have a like a tricky tummy,
That's
so I
right.
have to
That's
be really
true.
mindful of what I have. But I also yeah, I'm vegan,
Yeah.
like, which I'm sure is weird and annoying to some people. I just love animals, and the concept of eating them, I can't handle. But Robert does, the kids do. I don't judge it.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's a weird thing that I can't wrap my head around.
Listen, I just
Um,
watched that movie Food Inc. on the flight on the way here, Food Inc.
oh
2, the
gosh,
second one. And it's really fascinating what's going on with food. We're not going to get into it, but agriculture and food in our country is a real issue. And everybody should watch this movie because it's fascinating about what the companies are doing and feeding us. So when you watch these
yeah,
things as well, no matter if it's animals or not, you do start to kind of look at everything that we choose to eat and what it
yeah,
does to our bodies. But
yeah.
so you do that. But what do you meditate?
I
Like,
do. I do TM. So after I had Avery, I just had a very strong hit that I needed to get meditation into my life. And so I decided to do TM. I had an instructor come, worked with both me and Robert. You do a bunch of sessions and then
TM
you
is transcendental meditation.
meditation, yeah. And you're supposed to do it for 20 minutes twice a day. You're given a mantra. There's sort of a way that you do it. There was a way it was explained to me, which just really resonated with me. Um, and I have to admit, I cannot get 20 minutes in each day. And like the instructor would check back in, and I'd be like, I really can't get that second 20 minutes in. And she's like, what if it's even 10 minutes before bed? I'm thinking, lady, you clearly don't have a husband or
Yeah.
kids, or like, this is your job. Like, your job is to teach this. I loved her trying to like cheer me on and figure it out. And I can't, but I do that. And sometimes that's what, hopefully it helps and clears the head and gives you those kind of tools. But honestly, some of that is just more like, oh, I did that for myself.
Yeah.
I took that time. And, but my base is pretty chill. Like, I don't get really wrapped up. I mean, it probably all goes to my tummy issues because the whole, like,
Yeah.
second nervous
By the
system
way,
down
I'm
there.
sure. I'm sure it
Yeah,
goes
I'm
somewhere. Yeah, we all
yeah,
have that. The mind body connection of we just store it all differently, right? How it comes out is
yeah.
different.
But I also just feel like if you get too wound up about stuff, like how are you gonna get it done then? Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I just can't like I've never been so highly reactive. It's more like, okay, well, that's another thing. Let's figure that out. Okay, let's figure that out. The hardest stuff, the stuff that probably creates the most stress, is dealing with difficult personalities. Everything else is just work and logistics. It's just getting through something,
Yeah.
and just figuring that out. And it's the hard part is if within that there are personalities that you're dealing with which are creating unnecessary obstacles.
Oh yeah.
um that's the hardest thing, but everything else I just feel like I've always felt like you got to get a good night's rest to be able to tackle something in the morning. So I don't stay up staring at the ceiling thinking about everything.
Right.
I'm like, get to bed because I want to be up and have a solid hour before anybody else wakes up. It's like me and the cats. And like just be able to kind of that's probably one of the things that I do. That I don't really think about as a thing, but it is I have space for myself in the morning before the rest of the house wakes up. Occasionally,
What
Robert.
time do you normally wake up?
Well, okay, so it does depend. I think if you were talking about like right now, I'm going back and forth between New York and LA
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
play is there, but the kids want to be here. They come back a little bit, we go back and forth. And when I'm here, I usually get up around 5:30, 5:40 in the morning, and then I work out at 7. So I have all that time before I do a workout for myself. And a lot of that's the
Yeah.
meditation, that's having my coffee, that's catching up on emails or reading something, or a lot of like reading news or newsletters that I've gotten in or whatever it is. But that is very much my time. And what's funny is like occasionally Robert will get up early. Like I'm sure when he gets back from New York, he'll be still on New York time and he'll be waking up with me early. And I'm just like, he knows the look I give him. As happy as I am to see him, he's like, okay, I'll give you your space. I'll give you your space. Because like that I'm used to. Because once I have that, I'm good. Like I just need to get, it helps me kind of organize my thoughts and my days. I'm also a huge, everywhere in our house, every house, place we go to, even in my dressing room at Lincoln Center, I have little white pieces of paper. And because I write stuff down, I'm still from a
Yeah.
generation where I wrote stuff down,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me
um,
too. Me too.
yeah. And like typing it into my phone, I'll just forget it. I won't know where to keep it. Where is it? But when I write it down, it gets in my head. And so the process of writing it is even more than having that list. But I do love to cross out a list. So everywhere, I mean, if you saw like my desk here, there's like just these lists
It's
everywhere. And
So, by the way, it's you make me feel better right now because I actually the other day thought, wow, I can't believe I'm still using this method. I always try to have like a notebook and do it all in the same thing,
mhm,
but in fact, I always turn back to little pieces of
mhm,
paper. I write them down and then I stick them all together and then I'll just remove
yeah,
them, cross them out,
yeah.
throw them out. What is this? Because it looks like messy, but in fact, I really enjoy having these little
Oh,
like post-its or those I constantly buy those little pads of paper that are just like long and they have little funny sayings like one says like
yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
killing
yeah.
it right, all the things I need to do, then get rid of it for the day. So I felt like that was like it's I'm happy to hear that you do that.
I, I I do it like it is just I have to do it. I'm telling you, every room in our house has these little they're like this one is for
Yeah,
here.
yeah. By the way,
And
somebody just commented that they do the same thing but they always lose the
oh
papers.
yeah, well you have to have a hub. That's
Yeah,
probably another
you need
key
a
for
hub.
people. You need a hub, and I do find when I'm in New York, when we went there for the play, I had to figure out where my hub was because I was keeping the paper and I was putting it in my backpack that I would
Right.
take to Lincoln Center, but I wasn't revisiting them enough. And I'd get to the end of the day and I'd find the folded piece of paper. I'd be like, oh God damn it. But again, fortunately, just writing it, I had gotten through most of the things. But
Yeah.
I love crossing it out. And then you end up with like one or two things. So then you start a new one and you can cross them out, you put them on your new one. And
That's
it's
me.
like, it's
I
all a
feel so
method to keep that organization.
I feel really happy to hear you say that right now because I totally was judging myself just yesterday, going, I can't believe I still do this. Like, there's got to be a better way. And I started, I'll buy like a really nice notebook and I'll say, I'm only going to write it in that notebook.
Oh, no,
And then
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
end up doing it. I end
It
up
doesn't
putting the papers
feel right.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something that's a funny little method, but I like it. I don't know why I like it. I like to put them in my purse. I know they're in there, then I'll throw them out at the end of the day, whatever
Yeah.
it is. That's so funny. That's
Oh,
really, really funny.
100%. You can't throw them out unless you cross stuff out, even if it's like just to cross it out to throw it out. Like I have to do, and I've done the same thing. I've gotten beautiful notebooks over the years, binders with the, and I'll use those for work. Like if I'm on a work call and I need to take notes on what we're discussing that I want to refer back to, I still handwrite those. But if it's a to-do thing, then that goes. Occasionally, I can transfer a larger to-do list. Like if I have a lot swirling in my head, like, oh, it's Avery's birthday coming up, and I have all these questions about what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. That'll go on more of a legal pad because it's not an immediate to-do. It's more of a brain purge.
Oh my
Oh yeah,
God.
it's all
That's
happening. Like
really
it
fun.
all has
But it
to
is
go
more
somewhere.
satisfying to write things down. Like I like having a pen, a
Oh
pencil.
yeah,
I like writing it down. I like crossing it out. I don't have the same satisfaction on our phone or on a computer. It's just not the
it
same.
doesn't
Even there's
stick in
cute
my
little
head.
apps and things.
No, no,
I'm not as
no,
into it at all.
no.
Okay, so you're going back and forth. So are you guys enjoying the play?
Oh my God,
Is
loving
it
it.
is it
Like
fun to go
sincerely,
every day and like how
I
is it?
it's awesome. I mean, seriously, it's been one of the most inspiring creative endeavors we've had in a really long time. And we didn't entirely know what we were getting into. I had had the material submitted to me that Ed wrote, and I didn't really know his work. But I did a bit of research quickly and realized, okay, this is a legit guy. And so
It's
I
super
thought,
legit. By the way,
yeah,
brown guy.
he is. He did. He went to Brown. He also did this incredible play called Disgraced, which is worth checking out.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah,
Yeah, and anyway, so I thought like, oh, I'll just, if nothing else, I'll read a good piece of writing, which is just an exciting thing to do because it doesn't happen often. And when I read it, I was like, oh wow, there's something really going on here, both for the character journey of McNeil, which is the Robert character, that I think is really fascinating, multi-layered. Not many people could pull off because he's not necessarily at first blanch the most likable guy, but you have to be rooting for him to go on this journey, right?
yeah,
And then there's all these other layers to thematically what it's exploring about humanity and mortality and the arts and creativity in the world, this ever-changing world of AI. And so it was exploring so much. So anyway, I gave it to Robert saying, look, I don't know if you would ever do it. We also knew it was Bart Shear, who's our director, who's incredible and
right.
prolific, and that was a name I knew, and Lincoln Center, which obviously I knew. And but I said the same thing to him I said to myself, which is just take a look at it because if nothing else, it'll be great writing, to read and appreciate. And he read it and kind of had all the same reactions as far as like, wow, this is something very special, trying to do something very difficult, having a difficult conversation, which has worked for some better than others because some people don't want to have this conversation right now. They just want to go to the theater for 90 minutes and come out just like having laughed and smiled the whole time. And there's a lot of laughters and smiles in this, but it's also leaving you with something to think
Right.
about. And but the great thing about, have you done theater? I mean, you
I
like,
did. I did, and it's funny you asked because I can't talk about it just yet, but I think
oh,
I'm going to do a play next, and I can't wait to share it with you when I do. Yes. So I'll tell you
oh,
about it soon, but
okay.
like, yes, it's been in the zeitgeist and I have missed it. I used to do plays, but I haven't in 20 years. And I think that there's a connection with an audience that is something very unique to our experience as
Yep.
actors. And I don't know, something kind of came my way and it was something I've always wanted to do. So I'll tell you about it another time. But
I
yes,
need to
so
hear everything because I'm so into what it offers that film and television can't.
yeah,
There are many overlapping skills in terms of just storytelling
yeah,
and I know it's a little bit of an obnoxious word, but but that's what you're doing, and
Yeah.
and interrogating the material and all that, but the process of how rehearsals work and tech works and previews, which is a crazy concept. And then even as a producer sitting in the audience, when you've made film or television, I love watching stuff I've done with an audience, but that is a locked picture up there. There's no question what's going to happen,
Right.
so it's all about how's this particular audience this night, this day going to
Yeah.
react to it. But in theater, both things are changing every night. I mean, the words stay the same, the blocking stays for the most part the same, but it's a live thing. And people's energies are different and the rhythms are different. Your
Yeah.
runtime is a little different, and there's nights where I've watched it and been like, man, that was lightning fast, and it was one of our longer shows. And there's other times where I'm like, wow, that felt really deep and took its time, and it was one of the fastest shows. So
Wow.
it's just so crazy. But how much you get to get in there and really interrogate the material and
Yeah.
really know why you're saying things and what are you trying to get out of it. And then the excitement of, well, then, and how do you do it? Because you don't get to edit it. You're not telling people, look at this object or look at this person's reaction to
No.
what this person is saying. You have to figure out, which Bart is so brilliant at, how to stage it in a way that puts people's focus where you want it. So it's just great. I'm so excited that you're going to do it. We have found it so much fun, and really hope to bring some of the things that we've been able to do and learn and explore in this process into whatever we do next in film, television,
That's
whatever.
Oh, that's great. I want to hear about that another time. That's
Yeah,
really cool. I'd love to hear how that informs other things that you do,
yeah,
because I also listen, Robert. I'm not surprised you guys made this step, because Robert is obviously all of the talent that he is, but he definitely, just his personality feels to me like it leans itself to theater,
yeah.
because it is that not all actors, film actors or television actors, can do theater. They're not comfortable doing theater. It's not the way they roll. It's just a completely different feeling. And so, but he is somebody that, like, I completely feel like, oh yeah, that seems very natural for him to engage and want to engage with an audience in a specific way that for me it feels like it's like fuel. It's
Yeah.
like you're just putting fuel on something, and if you allow yourself to, as you said, be in tune with what that room is and what's going on, it informs the performance. It informs like the camaraderie you're having with your fellow actors, like the whole thing. I don't know. I just find it very satisfying to be to not have to wait, months to see something, to not
Yeah,
have to, sometimes I always say this, and that's a question I have for you about like young people entering our business and
yeah,
what advice you have. But like, I always feel that like, one of the things that's always hard is that sometimes when we're on film, it doesn't, our experience as an actor is not necessarily what the camera captures or the experience the audience has.
yeah, for
Very
sure.
often it's not,
No.
right? Very often you could be watching an actor who's, saying, oh, this sucked, and then you're seeing it going, no, I actually thought that was an amazing take. And so sometimes the camera just reads it differently, and so we have to, as actors, allow ourselves to just let that go,
Yeah.
right? To have our experience, and then to trust that the filmmakers are going to now take that ball and continue doing whatever they need to do with it, because it's not always, sometimes it's in sync and sometimes it's not. Whereas with theater, I actually do think we have a collective experience of what was happening that night,
Oh, yeah.
and so it's different.
No, I
It's
love,
different.
so for all of previews, I was in the audience. You sit along the back with the other production people, you're doing notes every night. And, I'd get home and I'd be doing my notes at like midnight, but when the show is going, I've still jumped into the theater, but I often am like backstage, and I watch on a monitor or I'll listen, because I might be, having to do other Team Downey business at that
Yeah.
time, or do a phone call or a Zoom in my dressing room, but there's certain things I want to catch. And what's great is I love it as the actors are coming off stage from their scenes and stuff. Like they're like, "Oh, it's a good audience tonight. Like I felt really good,"
Right.
And you do get that kind of collective reaction. And the other thing is when you're doing film and television, you can manipulate a performance so easily.
Right.
You know, you
Right.
can be
Right.
not on someone for something. You're really at the mercy of whoever, you know, the
Yeah.
filmmaker is. It's not that this is entirely true, but they obviously say television's the writer's medium, film is the
Yeah.
director's medium, but theater is
Yeah.
the actor's medium. And everybody has to collaborate with one another. It's again, that's not entirely true to say that, but I think in terms of who kind of has the final word in a way,
Right.
the real final word is the audience, by the way. Let's just be honest here. Like it's how they receive the material. But as far as what you're putting out there, the kind of final touch on it tends to be those, you know, three in those three areas.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad. I'm really excited and I'm really excited. I'm excited that you guys have done this. I'm excited to see it tonight.
Yeah.
So I guess my other question to you is like back to like we were saying about one of the things that is a stressor is all the different personalities in our business.
Yeah.
And lately, every time anybody has asked me about, what's that thing that you suggest doing entering our business, and I'm always like, read a lot of books on psychology, particularly narcissism and particularly like different types of personalities, because I do think that that's a big stressor, right? Like not
Oh yeah.
everybody is as like down to earth as you are, like frankly, like people are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
People are all sorts of colors. And part of the fun of what we do is collaborating and understanding other people's language and figuring out how that can come together to make a great story or a project or whatever. So I don't know, is there anything that people ask you? I know we've both been back to USC and talked to
Oh
young
yeah.
filmmakers and people about our experiences. Is there anything that you say to people?
Well, I think on the personality front, because there's sort of two questions within that. I think on the personality front, it's the thing you cannot control in other people, and you can't try and believe you're going to change the way somebody behaves. You know, the very simple thing is you can only change your reaction to someone's behavior, and oftentimes when you change that reaction, their behavior will change. Okay, so if you think, you know, in damning someone or yelling at them or wishing they would just behave differently, you're just never going to get anywhere. So, but it is why it's most difficult because again, everything else, like I said earlier, is either just like another thing to add on the to-do list or it's just figuring out logistics. It's just work that needs to get done, right?
Yeah,
But personality, you can't work harder and change how someone's going to behave. It's not also your job to do that. Like, you know, people have to own their own behavior. But if you have to get through something, you have to start to figure out, well, okay, what are different ways that I could maybe, you know, get through to this person and get them to react in a different
yeah,
way. So there's a little bit of that, but I think the second part of the question or the other maybe angle of the question is like, what do you tell young people? And I think for me, I like the idea of telling them to read psychology books. It's definitely a part of it, but I think just honestly read in general. Like
read.
you read, like
Yeah,
just you need we what we do in any of these mediums, you know, is based on material. Like that's what you need good
right.
material. So you either go be a writer and create good
Yeah,
material or read a lot of stuff if you're going to be the one who's, you know, selecting the material.
yeah,
Because that's really where it
yeah,
starts. And I think that and then the other piece of advice I really give people, and this is so how you and I were and continue to be. It's just like put your nose down and do the work. Don't get caught up in all the other stuff.
yeah.
Like just, you know, I feel like sometimes I still have a PA's mentality for better or worse, and
Mhm,
that's a
mhm.
production assistant. Like it's just that person who's like first on site, last on site, whatever it takes to get the job
Yeah,
done. Now, what those jobs that you need to get done obviously evolve as you do,
yeah,
but I think it's just being willing to work your butt
yeah,
off.
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
know, this industry, there's a lot of people who want to do it. And it's look, it's not easy. Sometimes I wish with the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that we put into it, we were saving lives in a different way. Like sometimes you're like, you
yeah,
know, the result is hopefully a good piece of entertainment that lives
yeah,
on for people or puts a smile on their face or makes them think. And some days you're like, wow, that was a lot of effort for what ultimately, we're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but you have to be willing to work. It's not an easy gig. It just
No.
isn't.
It's really not. Nothing is an easy gig, right? Nothing,
No.
nothing in life, but we have to choose the things that we're most passionate about and that we love. But yes, this business is for sure. People that are like, that don't even live in our country and have nothing to do with film and whatever, they have all these ideas about what it is. And then whenever I've invited family or other people to sets or things, and they're even there for an hour, they're
Yeah.
like, what's happening? You're like, this is what you do all day? You mean you wait
Oh my
around? And
God.
so it's always funny to do that. But this is what we love.
Yeah.
So we continue to do it. Well,
Exactly.
we're gonna finish because we've been going, and I'm so like we could talk about a million different things. And I feel like, is there anything that I brought up that we didn't talk about? But I don't know.
I mean, I think we covered it. I want to say, by the way, I know you're the one bringing me on here, but you did an amazing job with your kids too. Okay, can we just like take a moment and appreciate
Thank you,
like
Suze.
they're amazing, and the fact that Lucia is off at university at a great university,
Thank you.
and I mean,
Yeah.
it's just both kids are incredible and so kind as well, and it's not easy. It's not even about where we live or what we do. It's
No.
just raising kids is hard.
It's really, really hard. Thank you for saying that. I think it is really hard, and I frankly have now. About a week ago, I had this moment where I realized like how underwater I was for these last years, this last stretch of Lucia's sort of like teenage years, because I think when you are present and you're watching them and you're seeing all this, and I don't mean underwater in a negative way. I just mean in a way that you're leaning in and you're paying. I'm having
Yeah.
thoughtful parenting and paying attention. I realize how much went to that. And now that she's, not in the house and she's starting to do her own thing and her own independence, all of a sudden there's like, yes, I have Leo, but it's different when it's one and not two. And so my heart just goes out to everybody doing this, because
Hmm.
it is something that we don't know what we get into when we get into it. We can have ideas what we think it is, but along the way of it, it constantly gives us lessons,
Oh yeah.
and and they are giving us lessons, and maybe that's here we'll
Yeah,
that's
you did
one
bring
last
that up. What
question
are
for you is,
lessons? Yeah.
what is a lesson that your kids are teaching you at this moment or have taught you?
Hmm. I mean, as you know, there's so many, but I'll start with a simple one, and maybe we'll talk about more than one. But the other day I was talking to Exton, and I won't go into exactly the specifics, but it was, a few days before he something went on, and I had just found out about it, so I was asking him if he was upset, and he's like, no, I'm good, mom. And I'm like, are you sure it's okay to be sad? And he said, no, I know, the way I look at it is it's a lot easier to be happy than it is to be sad. And I said, wow, okay. I said, as long as you let yourself be sad first, if you need it to be. Like, don't just think you always have to be happy. Don't compartmentalize and shove it away.
Yeah.
He goes, no, no, I was sad for a few days. I'm like, okay, good, good. And then, so I just think there's like with him, he's such a positive,
Yeah.
accessible kid. He
Yeah.
really is. His
Yeah.
his default is that. And I think that I love that and I get that from him. And then I think from Avery, it's a whole different thing. A girl is like, it's a whole different, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Yeah.
and
Call me when she hits
oh,
12. We're going to
oh my
talk a
gosh,
lot.
yeah.
We're going to talk a
Her,
lot then.
oh yeah. But I think what's interesting with her is she asks very deep questions, and I can see her really wanting to understand the way the world works. And that can be as simple as when you buy a house, is all the furniture already in there? Which is, not a recent question because she's almost 10 now, but like trying to understand how does that work to how does it really hurt when you have a baby? Like what is that like? She's always thinking about how the world around her actually functions in areas that she hasn't experienced herself.
That's that's
And
so cute.
I know, and I love that she asks those
Yeah.
questions. And things like that. Because Xe doesn't ask those questions. He's kind of like figures stuff out himself, you know?
Think there's definitely a gender difference, and I'm having that experience too. There's definitely a gender difference in how the brains operate, particularly at different ages, and girls'
Hmm.
brains grow faster earlier. Sorry guys, you'll get there, but I will say the other thing about having about being choosing to be happy and not sad and all
Yeah.
that. We were talking about at Leo's school the other day. We were saying that, you know what, we often say when we pick up our kids, like, did you have a good day? And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
does he have to have a good day? Why can't we, like, we don't always have a good day. Sometimes we have, good days, not so good days. We have days that are more complicated than other days, like whatever it may be. And so changing that word of good to just
Oh, yeah.
like like what was the high, what was the low of the day, or what was, whatever it may be. And so that was something that we were just talking about, is that like allowing our kids to know that we also, not every day is supposed to be a good happy day. Like, they are what they are.
Exactly.
We're human beings, we're complicated, we have feelings, we go through ups and downs throughout our day. Moments are good, other moments are less good, whatever it may be. And so sort of not creating this expectation that if it's anything less than that, somehow they can't feel that, or it's not a good thing.
No, a
So I thought
hundred
that was an
percent.
important little nugget.
No, I agree, and had sort of learned that as well. And so I'm always like, how was gymnastics, or how was baseball
Right.
today, or
Yeah.
and even when there's a game or something, and whether they just won or got their butts handed to them, I was like, how did you feel about the game?
How'd
What
you
did you
feel
take
about it?
away from it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, that's what we say when we leave a performance as well, or stage or whatever. Just like, how did you feel about it?
yeah.
It doesn't matter what
What
the
was your
result
experience of
was.
it?
It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what was your experience of it
yeah.
and that moment and everything. And that's, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's where we're going to end,
Okay.
because I could talk to you for the next 5 hours. But uh, thank you for coming and doing this, and talking to everyone. Everyone, you guys are. It's an amazing community from all over the world. A lot of people who don't do what we do, but really love to hear and talk about it, and meet wonderful like women like you who are not just a badass in your career life, but also just as a wife, as a mother, as a partner, as a friend.
Oh,
You're
thank
amazing,
you.
and I think that everyone knows that. But
I feel the
I
same about you. And by the way, that's the stuff that comes before everything else.
100%.
I was talking to a friend last night and just about work stuff, and I said, if the home life isn't solid and isn't operating well, the rest doesn't matter. I would drop all of that if something was going boink at home,
Yeah.
and that's just it's just the way it has to be. It's the
Yeah.
priorities.
I agree with you. I mean, we often see if it isn't at home like that, then I think the other stuff is really hard to manage. It's already hard, but it's super like unattainable if you
Oh, yeah,
can't keep everything solid. So, thank you for sharing everything with us. And I'm so
absolutely.
excited to see the
Enjoy
play.
the
And
show. Will you
thank
text me
you.
afterwards?
I
Either way, be
will.
honest.
I
I
will, I
want to
will,
hear
I
it.
will, I will. I know I'm going to enjoy it because, two brilliant people, and three, because I don't know the director, but and you. And so all the people involved, I can't imagine that it's not going to be just wonderful. So good luck with everything else. Give
You
kisses
too.
to the kiddos,
Definitely.
and we'll talk
Enjoy
soon. Thank you. And thank
New
you.
York.
Thank you.
Enjoy
I
New
will.
York. I
I'm going
just,
to go have lunch with Eduardo somewhere fun. And thank
nice.
you all for tuning in. And we'll see you very soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye.